So here we've done the overview, we've done the atlas, and now let's go to build a course outline. So I'm going to go all the way back to Anatomy 1. So most of our textbooks, all of our textbooks that are currently available are extremely set. We can't do anything about changing it. When you have a textbook, it's there. Hey, that one chapter in the foot's 12 pages long. I've got 30 minutes to cover foot. I don't need all those 12 pages. Or in some textbooks, they're up to actually 40 pages in foot. You think, well, I don't need all that. I'd love to be able to edit that down to show and reveal less amount. Or I'd love to be able to then have a way of changing our content. At the University of Utah a few years back, we went through a curriculum revision. We no longer are regional-based and no longer systemic-based. We are University of Utah-based, and so we have a regional, systemic, and all different approach. So what would it be like to take a textbook, like going to a grocery store, shopping all the aisles and grabbing your ingredients and building your recipe, okay? So, all right. So what I'd like to do now is do that. Let's build our own textbook, shall we? Up here at the top, it says change. By clicking this, this shows all of the modules that I currently am using in my course. Let's go to this one. It says create a new learning plan. By clicking here, it says copy a learning plan. Because now what we've done is taken a created a systemic textbook for medical school. We've created a regional textbook of anatomy for medical school. We've created an integrated approach that uses both regional and systemic, and also one for an allied health professional school like PTOT. Or you can actually start from scratch and make your own learning plan. What I'd like to do is let's take a look at this regional one, click it, and let's get started. What this means is we are now taking, if you take any anatomy textbook that most schools use, published by any one of the major publishers, and take a look at its table of contents, what would it look like? Well, it's going to be exactly like what we're going to about to up here right here. You'd have an introduction to anatomy, and they'd go through regionally. Thorax, abdomen, pelvis, perineum, back, lower limb, upper limb, head, neck, and then a lot of them end with a systemic look at cranial nerves. Well, this is simply called copy of gross anatomy by regions. Well, let's change this, shall we? Over here, it says manage. And I don't want to delete this because we're going to work on it. Let's rename this. And instead of calling it copy of gross anatomy by regions, let's call it Anatomy Regional Approach University of Doe. Okay? Like as in John Doe or Jane Doe, we're going to make this is what going to be specific to your university, and we save. Now this whole content is saved and it's specific to whatever you want to change it. And so let's take a look and say that you do the thorax, and you want to look at the way this thorax section is organized. There's always this introduction. And within this introduction, it basically talks about the thorax cavity. But let's say that you want to now add your own, so that you want to say, I really like what they put there, but I'm going to get rid of it. Because you know what I want to write? I want to write focus on the following. And tell the students what you want to focus on. Very little detail on body wall, lots of detail on heart and lungs. Okay, and that's what we're going to focus on. And other notes to students. A question that we just got a second ago asked us the following. It says, I have a professor in my program who likes to tell his own anatomy story in a particular way to give students his perspective. How can AnatomyOne help him with that? Well, the way that can help, and I mentioned this, is that you can edit any of these introductions. And so if they've got a special story on thorax they'd like to tell, stick it in here. Put it right inside there. They can have their analogies and whatnot. They can put it right inside here, save it. So when this student sees it, they're going to end up seeing that. Okay. Now, what we've got, sorry, I'm just taking a drink of my water here. What we've got now is going through and say, you know what, this whole one is a structural patterns. This goes over embryology of the thorax. You know, we have a really good embryology program, and they've got their own textbook and the way they do it, so I'm just going to delete that. We're just not going to do embryology, and so they don't need to have it. Now, thoracic wall, I just told the students, hey, they don't have to spend a lot of time on that, so I want to edit this. So under this, what we want to do is edit. Now, there's this little introduction, and these are all the different subheadings within that module. Well, there's patterns that deal with embryology. We don't need that. And you know what? They don't need the organ section. And I do want them to know the nerves. Lymphatics they don't need. Muscles they need. Boundaries they don't. There. That's what I want them to focus on. What you just did was focus their attention on that module. So now that you've edited this out, so let's now go and click on thoracic wall. When we go to thoracic wall, it only shows the following. It shows the skeleton, muscles, arteries, veins, and nerves. However, notice at the top it says this page has been filtered by your learning plan. Now you're going to have students that want to know everything. As a matter of fact, you could throw the phone book in front of them and they're going to learn it. They can remove the filter and see everything that was within that module. Everything from boundaries all the way down to patterns and morphogenesis. Okay? However, if the students are now just trying to get through school, they can apply the filter and now see the constrained amount of material that you've given them. Cool? So let's now go back. So, University of Doe. Now we go down and see breast, and we want that, and you could edit this one as well and say, I want to make sure we cover growth structure, microstructure, that histology function, but they don't need to know any about arteries, veins, nerves, and lymphatics. Say, you've constrained it. And so what you're able to do now is edit this section heading under thorax to be specific to what you want your students to learn. And you do that for each one of these modules. So this past fall, I used it with our first-year medical students. I thought this was going to take me forever to do. Now, I created these modules from scratch, and it just took me a couple of hours. When I had this already finished and I went back to just actually do my course, it took me 20 minutes. The entire textbook catered exactly to what we wanted our medical students to use. Now that that's done, what now? In other words, how do we then share this? So we got another question just a minute ago, and the question says, if I have a colleague at another university, can I get a copy of their course outline and can I give them a copy of mine? You bet. So the way we do that is the following. Over here it says share. We're a sharing group here at Amersys and AnatomyOne. We like to share our content, and there's two ways to share this. First of all, you click share, and there's a URL. Copy and paste that URL and email it to anyone. And you could email to the colleague as long as they're logged, if they've got their own login to AnatomyOne. When you email that URL into their email and they click it, it'll open up, and they will then have a copy of your learning module in their AnatomyOne, and they can then edit it, save it as whatever they want to call it, Anatomy Regional Approach University of Me, and change it and edit to their content. So it's very easy to share content. The other way to share it is now, how do you share it with students? Well, another way is you just copy this URL, either email it to all your students, or if you, as with many schools, have a learning management system like Moodle or Canvas or Blackboard, post that URL on the learning management system, and as soon as a student clicks on that, it'll be loaded into their AnatomyOne. Another question that I get quite often is, what about sharing this so that you could print objectives and so forth? Another one is to save this as a PDF. By clicking this as a PDF, it will save all those major headings in a PDF format, so you could also post that as well. So the two ways of sharing. Last thing I wanted to talk about, because I want to go back to the question that said, hey, I've got a professor who likes to tell his anatomy story. So if we come over here and one thing I forgot to do was to put on like something else, like, so I'm just going to Yahoo and click on, there's my Yahoo link, and I'm copying that. And let's say that you open up your abdomen chapter and you want to then add a link. So up here along the edit, it says add a link. And by doing this, you can type in here and say, learn the news, and there you put the URL in this category, and then put a description, learn the news for lecture tomorrow. And by adding that, when we look down, it'll always appear at the very bottom, and then you could just move it. Learn the news. So here we've got the learning the news, and you can move it up and put it to whatever position you'd like. But I love this because this enables me to add external links to some of the other content that I did. So if I can show you an example of what I mean by that, is that when we go to, I'm going to change for a minute back to one of the courses that I use, and that is right, let's see here, when I go to my upper limb and go to, and I think I might have opened up my wrong one. Sorry, guys. I did, so I won't waste time on that. But I put a lot of external links to my own content, and it enables me to be able to link out. And so if you've got your own website you want to share with your students, you can do that. Oh, there it is. I beg your pardon. Here we go. I just clicked the wrong one. I've got too many open. So if I go to my upper limb, we cover brachial plexus. So there's the ventral rami chapter of brachial plexus, but it's this tutorial to draw brachial plexus. This is a web-based tutorial that we created that's just housed on our library server. By clicking on it, you'll notice it opens up, and it goes over this little mnemonic for drawing the brachial plexus. And it's fantastic in the sense that I've always, in my lectures, I always have to put this URL because it stands alone. Now, it's right within the textbook of AnatomyOne. So, I just got one other question that I got that we could, in the time frame, to share. It says, what happens if I have some videos or other resources I want my students to see? Can I include those? At the moment, we do not have video within AnatomyOne, like within its content, so that if you were to come over to the atlas, click on atlas, and be able to view all these atlases and choose one of these. In these atlases, you've got illustrations, we have pro sections, and we have radiographic images, but we do not have video yet. That'll happen, we just don't have it yet. So what happens if you've got videos you'd like to show, animations of the heart that's pumping, if you want to show stacks of MRI videos that you want to go over, or this one great heart one that you want to share, you bet. The best way to address that is simply to create a link. You make an external link, just like I did here for our web-based tutorial for brachial plexus. You just create a link to that website, and that's the way to share it for now. So I'm just going to double check, make sure we don't have any other questions. So one more question. It says, I have to keep a learning resource record for crediting reporting. How is that possible with AnatomyOne? And that's a good question. The way we did it, we just got accredited by the LCME last fall, and what I did is I used this feature here that says share PDF, and by sharing PDF, I was able to then take our content that we have in this one. Because this is a really long module, it might take a while to open up, like 20 to 30 seconds to open up. But, oh, there we go. So there's the copy outline of a PDF with actually all of these are links directly into the content. So I was able to then show, here's all the material that we cover, and it was in one source. And so there's 21 pages. Well, that's not bad if you think of it. Most textbooks are over 1,000 pages. In 21 pages, be able to document for LCME and say, this is all the material that we cover for anatomy in first-year med school.